am a sucker for an emotional man. I need to read more. I feel like there's so many books I need to read and I want to read. Maybe that's something that I should talk to my therapist about. Is I love a dramatic backstory. Hey, hi, what's up? Welcome back or welcome to my Caffeinated Chaos. I am Cassie, and today we are going to talk about who I think are some of the best MMCs in dark romance books that I have read so far. As I was making this list, I did realize your girl needs to read more. I need to read more. I feel like there's so many books I need to read and I want to read. Anyways, today we're going to focus on the morally gray, the morally black, the men that I am obsessed with in dark romances. I love a morally gray man. I love a man that's ready to burn down everybody, but then treats her like she is the only thing on the planet. I freaking am a sucker for it, okay? We're going to go through my top 10 dark romance MMCs today. That's what we're yapping about, and I cannot wait. So let's go ahead and get right into it. Of course, we're going to start from the bottom up because we have to save the best for last. And honestly, if you know me or you follow me on TikTok, if you can't guess probably my first two, I don't know where you're missing it. So starting at number 10, it's going to be Lachlan Kane from the Ruinous Love Trilogy, the second book, Leather and Lark. And something about Lachlan was he was like dark and edgy, but like he still was so like emotionally mature, I feel like, and you still could like connect with him on an emotional level. I ate it up, okay? Another thing about me is when the main male character has an accent or speak with like slang from another country and like you get that vibe of like them not being American. I'm a sucker. I eat it up. I'm not ashamed. So this is a dark romance, but it does have like a little bit more comedic relief to it, I feel like. Something about Leather and Lark is both of the characters bring their own baggage, and for me, when the characters have a traumatic past, it sucks me in, okay? So I loved the way you got to see like they bring their own baggage and they ended up together. I love him. I think he was like dark and possessive, but not too possessive. I definitely recommend you read it if you are into like a dark romance that's not, in my opinion, too dark. Number 9, we have Tristan Fossa, and that is from Scarred, one of the Never After series, book 2, I believe. And when I tell you that I never had read any like retellings in the way that this was a retelling, and I had to Google what the retelling was based off of. And then once I realized what it was, I was like, wow, girlfriend, like how did you not figure that out? I was instantly like thrilled with this one, and I think it was a little bit of like the forbidden love aspect of it, and then also because Tristan was like deeply shaped by trauma, and you're probably going to hear me say it 1,000 more times, is I love a dramatic backstory. I'm a sucker for it. This book is a retelling of The Lion King, and Scarred would be like Scar, right? Spoiler alert, he's the one who gets the girl. Throughout the story, you get to see how he struggles with like the trust, and his past trauma really drives like what he's doing. And like at first he's sketchy and he's like not doing it for the right reasons, and I was like, maybe I'm really gonna hate this book. But then by the end he had won me over so much that he made it onto this list. I highly recommend you read the Never After series if you like dark romance or if you like the retellings. You're gonna notice as we go over some of these is I am a sucker for an emotional man, like one that like has emotions, okay? And I think that maybe it's because men don't cry type crap, like bullshit. Honestly, like the character growth in that one really just sucked me in, and I loved it. I did. That's definitely a series. The whole Never After series, I loved every single one of them. Scarred and Hexed were my absolute favorite. Hexed because the FMC is a badass in that one, and we love a badass FMC. But with that being said, Tristan does land on a good solid 9. This next one, my number 8, was one of the first dark romance series I had ever read, is now the Kingmaker series. When I read it, the book was called The Savage, and his name is Adric Petrov. Now this is Kingmaker's the 5th book, Graduation, and it follows him and Sabrina Gallo. Their love story is nothing short of chaos. That's like the best way to describe it, I feel like. This book series is essentially set at like a mafia college, but this book specifically is not at the academy. This one, they do end up in Russia for the majority of the series. Not all of it, but pretty much the majority. And he's like, I'm going to take over Russia, and Russia is about to be my freaking world, and with you by my side. And something I love is that maybe not in front of everyone else, he treats her as exactly an equal, but there's in a lot of ways, like, he's like, you are my partner and we are going to rock this fucking world together. And I love it. I mean, he didn't just want her, he wanted the world with her by his side. It's intense. I mean, they're in Russia and they're part of the mafia, right? So, like, obviously it's intense. And he brings Sabrina into his world with his close-knit friends. And, like, there's a little bit of a found family vibe to it. Not, like, super serious, but there is a little bit of a vibe to that. And I think that's another reason I loved it. But his way that he just, like, manhandles her in the bedroom, too, I'm like, okay. He's obsessed with her. He is freaking obsessed, and I love, honestly, it's shocking he didn't make it higher, but as I was making the list, I was like, damn, I've read a lot of books with a lot of MMCs I love. Kingmakers is by Sophie Lark, and my number 7 MMC is also by Sophie Lark. From the Brutal Birthright series, I have Nero Gallo. This story is set in the Chicago Mafia. So it does focus a little bit on, like, more of, like, the whole crime family. Like, you get a little gist of, like, the internal vibes and what goes on with the Chicago Mafia. Nero, however, is definitely, like, way more of, like, a quiet, like, to himself MMC, and the FMC breaks through those walls and they end up together, obviously. Throughout the story, you really see him, like, struggle with, like, his loyalty and, like, what he should do, because as much as he's, like, to himself, he's also very loyal to his family. And then she just, like, gets under his skin in such a way, and he is like, you know what, this is the girl for me. And I wouldn't say, like, he's someone who, like, chooses her loudly, but he definitely chooses her, and it's like, that's it, like, this is it for me. And I love that. I loved the aspect of, like, once he decided this is who he wanted to be with, the decision's made, and this is where we're going. I think it was, like, also just a little bit of, like, he was more closed off and she had to, like, break through those barriers. And then, like, he's obviously, like, he's in the Chicago Mafia, so he's a badass himself too. And I just really enjoyed their story and loved him so much. So that's why he made it on number 7. And now for number 6, we have an MMC that when I started this book, I thought there's absolutely no way in hell I'm going to like this guy. There's no way in hell, because the way he was perceived in the books before his book, I was like, fuck him. Okay, so with that being said, number 6 is Landon motherfucking King from God of Ruin, the Legacy of God series. I read that series last summer, and I think I read the entire series in, like, a week and a half, like, ate it up. Loved them all. You're gonna catch a few of them on here, but Landon took me by surprise. Okay, so he comes off like this golden boy. Everyone loves him. He's so charming, but in reality, he is emotionally manipulative and just knows how to, I forget what you call it, like, he's a sociopath or whatever. Like, he doesn't actually have the feelings, but he can, like, display the feelings. I feel like that's sociopath. And their story is set in an elite world where they are in, like, they're in these 2 colleges that compete essentially with each other. And Landon finds this girl, Mia, who is deaf, and she wants nothing to do with him. Nothing to do with him. And I think that's where the intrigue comes from. And the way that he goes for her, doesn't give up, and then once he has her, he is like, he's just great. He gets obsessive, and, like, he already had this property where he kind of, like, gives her everything that, like, she needed in a world. She was traumatized as a kid, in the way that he figures out what the heck happens and then, you know, gets the revenge that was much deserved. It's beautiful. Okay, I am obsessed with Landon, and it was crazy how in the first few books, I'm like, this motherfucker, I really hope he does not get his own book. I really, really hope he does not get his own book. And then he did, and I was like, Landon, Landon, Landon. I thoroughly ate this one up, and he's definitely morally gray. We'll leave it at that. He's definitely morally gray. And I think that if you have not read the Legacy of God series and you like dark romance, please do yourself a favor and read it, because every single one hits, honestly. Every single one hits. Okay, now we're getting into the top 5. All right, so for number 5, we have Alessandro Villanova, or Alpha from the Darkverse series. This is an interconnected, not standalone dark romance series, so I don't want to give too much away about the plot, but essentially Alpha is a leader in the criminal underworld, and he's not one to just like blindly chase around girlies. Okay, so when he figured out a girly he wanted, he became very certain that's exactly who he wanted to be with. Okay, he is dominant, he is morally gray, he is an alpha man 100%, and he shines in his book. His story is in the finisher of the series, but you do have to read these in order to really understand the plot and get the full aspect. And honestly, they're all amazing. Every single one of those are amazing. That's another one I read super freaking quick, so I highly recommend you read it, and also just appreciate that man, because he is chef's kiss. And shocker, we're coming back to the Legacy of God series. So for number 4, we have Killian Carson from God of Malice. And this is the first book to the series, so you enter pretty strong. I think some people really hate this one, and I don't get it. I do not get it one bit, okay? The FMC in this book definitely doesn't necessarily want anything to do with him at first, and it's great because he's locked his eyes on her, and once his eyes were locked on her, he was like, you're mine. You're mine. He's another one who's a sociopath, so he doesn't have feelings with other people, but with her, and he takes care of her and loves her correct the way that she needs to be loved, without the judgment of what that may entail in the bedroom, okay? He is savage in all of the best freaking ways. Like I said earlier, the Legacy of Gods is set in, it is set in in 2 schools in England, rival schools. So they are all wealthy, well-off families, and most of them have ties to the criminal underworld. And honestly, Killian is I just loved how as soon as he got his eyes on her, he was like, this is my girl. This is my freaking girl. I was a sucker for it. I loved him and his obsessiveness in the fact that there's a part where his friend is shirtless or something, and he gets so upset about her seeing him, and I was like, okay, I love it. I freaking love it. For number 3, we have Matteo Tiello. Oh, I'm probably murdering that last name. I'm sorry. So this is from the Born in Blood Mafia Chronicles, Bound by Hatred, and I wouldn't love him without her. Gianna Scuderi. I'm going to start looking up these names, okay? Scuderi, Gianna, spoiler alert, Gianna runs away at one point, or she thinks she's gonna get away with it, but of course he freaking finds her. And the lengths that this man goes, the lengths that he goes to find her, she did not want to be a part of this life. She did not think she was gonna have to get married off, if I remember correctly, because her sister already did. But he met her, I want to say it was at their wedding. So the man her sister married was like, all right, I got you. He's not all right, I got you at first. But he's they make it happen so that she gets married to him, and she does not want anything of it. So she leaves, and he's like, girl, you can literally go anywhere in the world, and I'm gonna find you. And that aspect alone had me in a puddle. Okay, in a puddle. I read this one years ago, and he has landed at number 3 in my favorite MMCs. So I feel that gives you a vibe that he's great, right? And somehow we are already at number 2. And this is a series we've already discussed, the Darkverse series, and I'm talking about Tristan Kane. So the first 2 books of the series follows Tristan and Miranda. I really need to look these names up. I fucking suck. And he is quiet, barely talks to literally anybody, right? So the whole first book, you're kind of where is his head at? Where is his head at? Does he even like this girl? You just aren't really sure. But then by the end of that second book, you were the way that this man obsessed over her for so long is unmatched. It's freaking unmatched. And his love for her and their love together, and the found family vibe in this series is amazing. And I just love it so much. And he gives everything. It is an enemies to lovers, and in my opinion, it's a true enemies to lovers, and I love that. I also love that, so she's really smart, and I think that that's one of the attracting things to him, and I love that because I feel a lot of FMCs kind of don't stand on their own, and she does, and then them together is a powerhouse like no other. I'm obsessed with him. I think you could say that he goes to the ends of the earth for her, essentially. And when I tell you that I cannot see a picture of like a cityscape with windows that are like floor to ceiling without picturing them sitting together at his windows in his penthouse or in his apartment. I don't think he's the actual penthouse. Maybe he is. But that scene literally flashes to my mind every single time I see an image of a cityscape in big windows. And I feel like that's saying something. The way that he's there for her through finding out some traumatic ass shit is also something that I appreciate in a way that I don't think I'd appreciate. And then he's morally gray as hell. He will unalive people. And I love that in MMC. And last, and definitely not least, and definitely somebody that I think about every single day, and I don't even know why I love him as much as I do, if we're being honest. Another series you've already heard about, the Legacy of God series, God of Wrath, Jeremy Volkov. I'm obsessed with him. The way that there's like a little cat and mouse aspect to this story, the way that he is there for her. Cecily Knight is the FMC, and she has like an issue with being in the dark, and she has some super serious trauma that she has to work through. And the way that he is there for her through that, while also being so savage, like so savage, I'm obsessed. And he also, it becomes very obsessive, and I'm a sucker for an obsessed, morally gray man. I really am. Maybe that's something that I should talk to my therapist about. And what's even crazier with him is like he initially is like very calculated about this relationship, and then that just goes up in flames. And it's like he falls for her. And I love that so freaking much, because it definitely starts from like a little bit of a jealousy thing, and then it turns into so much freaking more. So much more. And I'm obsessed. I love him. It was really hard to narrow it down to 10 and not include MMCs from that entire universe, because another one that I'm a sucker for is Nikolai. Love him so much. That was my first MM romance, and I ate it up. So it's like a little shout out to him as well. That series is amazing. So if you have not read it and you're a dark romance girly, please pick it up. They're right up there, right next to Shikamaru. Love Shikamaru. That concludes my top 10 favorite MMCs from dark romance reads that I have read. And I need to get on it because I have not read that many books this year. But I'm really hoping that this list becomes way harder to keep it to just 10 and grows with some seriously obsessed, savage MMCs, because that is my favorite for sure. If you made it this far in this video, I freaking love you. I love you. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. Please don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. And I look forward to yapping about books with you next time. Bye.